In the last video, we looked at four statements about a collection of companies here that was related to the data set that we were given. And we translated each of these statements into a statement about sets. Now, if we had 100 or 1,000, a lot of companies, what we would do once we knew what sets were involved here that we wanted to calculate, we would let some software or computer program calculate to the set of companies that met the criteria that we were interested in. But since this is a small number and because we want to illustrate what these various Boolean operations and set operations, how they work, we're going to calculate these sets ourselves. Okay, so the first property here dealt with the sets F intersect D, where F was the companies that had a positive growth in the last 5 years. So let's set up a column here for F and check off which companies meet that criteria. So positive growth, it's pretty easy, just starts with a positive and not a negative sign. Uh, the second set that we were looking at was D. We'll label column for that. Uh, that consisted of companies whose dividend yield was more than 3%. So as we go down the dividend yield, we can pick out which ones they were. Looks like that's these three. So we can put a check mark over here in the D column. And now, how do we calculate the intersection? Well, the intersection will be the companies that meet both of these criteria, which means we have to have a check mark in both the F and the D column. It looks like that occurs exactly once here. Okay, so we can calculate that as, well, that's just K, Kellogg. Okay. All right, let's look at the second property. Okay, it's F intersect the complement of L. Well, we already have identified F, so let's take a look at a column for L. L consists of companies that had positive growth last year. So that means that this number should be positive, and there is one there. So we can put a check mark, one check mark in the L column. Now, the condition here wants the elements which are simultaneously in F and not in L. Okay, so if they're not in L, that means it's going to have to be one of the companies that we're not checking here. If I put enough dots in there. Okay, so which ones are these going to meet this criteria? Well, we just want to go down through the F column, and anytime there's an F, we don't want to count it if there's also a check mark in the L column. So that would mean the only one that we wouldn't want to take into account is this one right here. So it's going to consist of A, C, E, takes care of the top three, and then it looks like H and I, and well, let's go down here, K. Okay, so that was quite a few. Okay, how do we do the third one down here, L union D? Well, we have both the D and the L up here. So L union D would mean that we would want to find either one or the other. So if there's a check mark in either of the columns, so it looks like there's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. So we can just actually write those out. Let's see, the L first is only G, item G, and then the others are going to be D, J, and K. Okay. Okay, now what about the last condition? Well, actually the last condition is sort of hard to see because it's down here below my border. So let's rewrite this up here someplace. C intersect L union the complement of D. Okay, so that's the set we want to calculate. Now I can go back and look at my data set. Well, all right, so we need to have a C someplace. Well, let's go get a different color for C here. Okay, And since the C was the companies that cost less than $50 a share, let's go out and label the C out here where the price is. It's easier for me to see it. There's a 50, less than 50, less than 50, less than 50. There's another less than 50, and the last two here are also less than 50. Okay, so what is the set here going to consist of? Well, it's going to consist of the things which are in C, in other words, the ones we have green checked by, but it also simultaneously has to be in one of either L or the D prime. Well, let's compare each of these separately here. So there's only one check in the L, and that's in G, but there's no check in the green. Okay, so there's nothing there for us to add. So let's look at the C's, the green checks, and compare them with the ones that are not in D. So if they're not in D, I'll put some little dots here to indicate they're maybe not in the D. So what we're interested in are the companies that have the green checks here or a green dot here. So that's going to be B and C. Okay. And then let me see another green. Well, we don't have a green dot there. H is going to look like H. It looks like H is it. Okay. So three companies meet this criteria here that we've spelled out. Okay, so this illustrates now how we've actually taken the sets that we've written in set notation and gone through our database here and decided how you calculate the elements of those sets. Well, thanks for watching.